Cleveland Clinic, Florida provides individualized treatment plans for excellent outcomes of health problems ranging from the most common to the most complex, even in cases considered untreatable by others. Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Every life deserves world-class care.
I'm appalled at what you said on that pod thing. It's disgusting.
This is the After the Show podcast. It's where we get honest and real with your ass. So sit back, relax, have a blast, because it's time for the After the Show podcast.
Yeah, here we go. Happy Monday. Welcome to the KVJ After the Show podcast. Fun little weekend. Had a KVJ Volunteer Army event cleaning up MacArthur Beach State Park. It was great to get out there and do that. Hopefully we'll have some other events coming up here relatively soon, maybe this summer. I guess it just depends upon how things go, but looks like they're starting to loosen some of the restrictions, at least here in Florida.
Absolutely.
For vaccinated people.
It looks like more things are opening up, more events are coming back.
Yeah.
More reason to be out and about and see people again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
It's fun/weird.
We had a lot of fun over the weekend. We saw a lot of KVJ Nation out there.
Yeah.
At the Cattle Club. It was a lot of great fun.
Heard that was a good time. There's a nice photo here that Carol had sent in of Virginia, give you an idea what she looked like with that lovely dress and derby hat that she had on there.
Mama didn't miss a beat. You would have thought it was 2019 out there. Just crushing
Still cranking away like that, huh?
That's about 3 tequila shots in.
Whoa,
Yeah.
you doing tequila shots, huh?
Virginia was making me do tequila.
Whatever. Shot queen over here was the one. Shot caller.
Yeah, shot caller.
Him and Denny's. They were both
Really?
like, let's do shots. And I was like, oh, shots? Really?
What kind of tequila did you do? Do you know?
Oh, BS tequila. I don't think it was the fancy stuff.
Okay.
It was
There was one time that we did Casamigos.
it was kind of, it felt like fuck it
solid.
tequila. Yeah, fuck it. I think it was called fuck it tequila. Fuck
Yeah.
it.
Like a Cuervo or something like that?
I honestly, Kevin.
No idea.
I
Okay.
would never
I got you.
know.
I'll stop grilling you. Well, also had some KVJ Nationers that actually went to the real Derby as well.
Did they have fun?
Yeah, Eliza had sent this in, said we celebrated Mom's 70th at the Kentucky Derby over the weekend. 50,000 people. It was reduced from the usual 150K. We had an awesome time. Everybody said you're not in Florida anymore, referring to the face mask. So Florida's wide open reputation is far reaching.
So maybe in Kentucky they still have to wear them.
Yeah, they may. I mean, I don't know exactly where they're set. I know a little bit more about what's going on in Ohio, and it's weird. A lot of the people I know, of course, my parents are there and everything else. I just see the side that's like, hey, strip this all away. We don't care about coronavirus, but their governors, even though he's Republican, he's a little bit more locked down on stuff. And there's been kind of it's interesting to see all the battles that kind of happen. So he seems like he's been kind of fighting the whole state because they want to be Florida Part 2. And he's like, no, I feel more like California.
Every state is different because of the leadership. And it's kind of crazy when you see like just the difference between, say, I don't know, New York and Texas. Like, you're both states.
Right.
You both had the same, probably amount of people.
Right.
Because Texas is big AF.
Yeah.
But New York was so locked down, and Texas is like, let's do this.
It's really kind of interesting. Michigan's an odd state to have watched through this. California, I mean, they're doing a recall that's serious now. They're trying to get Arnold Schwarzenegger involved with trying to kick Gavin Newsom out of office.
The Terminator?
Yeah, they're trying to get him in on this. So.
I might do the worst
crazy.
Terminator. Everyone can do Schwarzenegger. I can't do him.
Get to the chopper.
That's terrible too. Yeah, not very
Everybody
good.
has a really bad one. Typically.
Mine's bad, but yours is worse.
But that's one of those ones that everyone can kind of do the Terminator. I'll be back. Oh, it's not a tuba.
They do the same lines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody can kind of do it.
Yeah. So there's the photo there. The Derby looked like a good time. That was one of the many things going on. Yeah. See that?
Those girls have some hats going on.
At Churchill Downs.
Pretty.
Is that a sunflower hat?
One of them looks like it's sunflowers and grapes.
I love sunflowers. I think they are so gorgeous.
They are, yeah.
I was going to make you a hat of hats because I had this big giant hat.
That'd actually be funny. A hat
I
that
was
just
going
has
to
a
glue
bunch of hats on it.
a bunch of little hats to it.
I like that.
I ran out of time.
Yeah, it's. I was gonna wear a hat. The one hat that we had just didn't kind of work.
It was too busy.
It was too big too. With my hair.
It's kind of a thing for the chicks. I mean, usually dudes don't do it.
I didn't. Yeah, I was getting called out for that. Not
You
wearing the
were.
hat.
Yeah, go figure. Go
Nah,
figure.
you looked fine.
I guess, I don't know if it's a surprise, but there's a lot of stuff going down over the weekend. The one thing I guess maybe a surprise to some is the NFL draft, which started on Thursday night. I stayed up a little bit later than I should have to watch through some of the picks on that, and then it continued on Friday and Saturday. They say that the first round of the NFL draft on Thursday night attracted a much bigger audience than the Oscars did.
Did you see any of the Oscars? I watched some of the highlights. Holy shit, was that rough, man?
Lowest rated ever.
It was. It just felt so awkward and shitty.
Disjointed.
And kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the speeches are weird.
Yeah, the NFL draft is getting better every year. And they did something different now that really makes it awesome. It used to always be at Radio City Music Hall in New York. And they started taking it around to different cities. And the first one I remember is a couple years ago, 2 to 3 years ago. They had it in Nashville. And they put up a massive tent kind of thing. It looks, if you've ever seen like the Hollywood Bowl that they have.
Yeah.
That kind of amphitheater type thing. It's like of that size. It's a huge rock star kind of stage. And there are tens of thousands of people that are there. So the environments are really cool. And they try to put it in a nice area. In Nashville, they had it going all the way down the Bar District. In Cleveland, they had it right by the football stadium, which there's a lot going on there. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's not far and all that. And it's in Cleveland, and it still looked fun, and it looked cool. And yeah, they are doing a very good job with it. It's becoming a real hype event now that if your city gets it, it just looks like, again, like anything, like Kentucky Derby, it's more about the party. You look at everything we love, Honda Classic, it's more about the party. You know, that's what we're all about. So you really just have to let's have a party and then, oh, okay, by the way, there's an NFL draft going on here.
Somebody was telling me over the weekend, they were like, you have no idea how much they blow it up for the Derby. Like 3 weeks out, there's so many parties and social engagements and tastings of this booze and that booze and these sponsors. It's like a South by Southwest.
Yeah, and
like,
that's fun.
Yeah.
When every city has that, and they kind of do. A lot of cities have that signature event. It's amazing. You got to have things to look forward to and get excited about. And if you love going out and partying, like I think we all do, it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, that's really what the NFL draft has turned into. The Oscars, boring.
Stuffy.
You would think for a movie thing that they would have good production on it.
A lot of the movies, too, I've never even heard of them.
Yeah, I think it might have been the Academy Awards, and maybe it was the Grammys. One of the two. I think it was the Academy Awards because they got bitch slapped by this latest Oscars, and they have even said now they are going to start having more transparency. They realize there's a disconnect, obviously, with the fans and with everybody else, and it's falling into obscurity. Like, who cares? Nobody even. The ratings tell you nobody gives a shit about your award show or how you do it. And so they're, I think, asking some hard questions, which they need to. And the two things that I said was you got to change up how you do it because it is boring. And two, there's got to be more transparency. And so I think they recognize that. They got to make the voting so it feels like it's more connected to the people. And then they got to look at something like the NFL draft. Why is that so stimulating? Why did they whoop our ass by almost 2 million viewers on Thursday night? It's because it looks like a party. It's fun. There's a lot of storylines. There's a lot of drama that goes into it. I mean, the build up on that, talking about who's going to go where, and it delivered. Like, you were like, wow, I didn't see that happening.
Yeah.
You know?
I love the behind the scenes story. The story makes it.
They make the stories, and then for all these cities, based on what happens in the draft, you're not going to know right away, but in 2 to 3 years, you're going to have some of those players that change the outcomes of these teams that cities ride and take pride in. And so it is kind of a big deal. So they did a good job with it. And I think this is amazing, too. One of the reasons why I love being in South Florida is just how great football is here. Taking a quick look, the states with the most players taken in the 2021 NFL Draft, Florida far and away number one. 37 high school players from Florida win in the NFL Draft. Number one. Texas had 33, and then Georgia, which was number 3, only had 21. In fact, South Florida had 17 players taken in the NFL Draft, 12 of them from Broward County.
Wow.
And the state of Ohio had 9 total. Broward County beat the state of Ohio and Pennsylvania in how many players were taken in the NFL Draft. One county beat many states.
Dang.
That's how big football is in South Florida. So I thought that was all pretty awesome. Got an email here from Corey in the Pizzle. When coming to Fort Pierce, you need to add to-go rum runners with a floater at Jetty Lounge and the best wings at a family-run business, JoJo's Wings on Okeechobee Road in Fort Pierce. I promise you'll not be disappointed. So thank you.
I love me a rum runner. I like a bucket full of fun. Just
I know you
a
do.
big slushy.
It's fruit punch.
Slush.
It's yummy. It's sweet.
It's
everything he loves.
I do. I like that. I like those kind of bars too. You
Yeah.
watch the machines and shit. I don't know. I like
You
it.
like a
It's
daiquiri
show.
machine.
I do. I like a daiquiri machine.
You could probably buy a daiquiri machine for your house.
But I bet you that would be such a bitch to clean. I don't even want to deal with that fucking thing.
It'd be fun only to set up for parties, and then outside of that, yeah, you're right.
True. You just set it up for the party, then you clean it out and put it in the garage.
Yeah.
You can't have it going 24/7.
No way.
Be a massive pain in the ass. But
Plus,
yeah.
it'd probably get gross too.
Oh yeah. I think if you don't clean them, they get moldy.
Do you find yourself getting grossed out more as you get older?
Totally.
Yeah, I can't drink water out of a cooler that I don't know. If someone made water, you know, if you're on a picnic or something, everyone's using
Or a beach cleanup.
a universal kind of a thing. I have a tough time. I just don't know. Who the fuck made that? Who cleaned this thing?
Well, you know what's happening is it's because exactly you got to trust someone else that they have sanitation standards that are at least as high as yours. And I found out in life, I trust no one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've seen many coolers with mold in there, and I just don't fucking.
I
don't
trust
want-
one guy. That guy's me.
Yeah,
If I'm the one prepping, I know the cleanliness level.
I mean, if we're doing it for a bit, that's one thing. But if you're just in your off time getting some water, it gets in my head a little
You
bit.
know too much.
Yes.
You're too old. You've seen too many things.
I've been to the puppet show. I've seen the strings.
Yeah. And Corey, just to let you know there from the Pizzle, I put that on the list. And I'll keep updating that. So, and I got to remind people, again, this is just my own personal, little thing. Because I know people are complaining. Like, somebody's like, why is Christ Fellowship on here? Well, it's the church that I go to. So I have my church on there, and they got many different campuses. So, unfortunately, you got to take whatever's in my phone. I'm not making a list for you. This is a list that I have cultivated myself. And not to mention, too, pretty much all the places that I've put on there are all about sinning. So you might need a little bit of Jesus to balance it out.
Who's getting on you about?
Oh, somebody just had commented going, what? Christ, fella, why would I want to go here? I'm like going, again, this is my own personal, what I've got in my phone. This is my own little map I made for me. I'm sharing. I'm giving you a look in it. I'm not going to change it for you because this is for me.
Yeah.
And my own personal use.
It's like a Kevin playlist.
Right.
If you want to see it and use it, fine. I'm not making you. You don't have to. If you don't like it, click out and go find your own damn way. Tracy had sent this email here. I don't know if you saw this. This was an interesting post. Where you were just a couple of weeks ago at the Peace River, they had a giant bone of a mammoth dating back to the Ice Age was just found near Arcadia this last week. The 4-foot, 50-pound bone is well over 10,000 years old. And you can see this guy holding it right there on KVJ TV.
Wow.
No shit. Look at that.
Yeah, how about that? You probably stepped right over that thing.
Probably did.
If we look back on one of your videos, Jaybird trips over this. Dude, it was right there.
Well, what do you think that woman that was pooping was sitting on?
Yeah, I had some people email me going, yeah, she should not have been pooping in that river.
No.
Well, you don't poop where people play. You go somewhere else and you hide and poop. You don't poop where everybody like loves to jump in the water and do tubing.
Well, someone asked me, well, how do you know she was pooping? She could have just been peeing. She verbally said, I'm just crapping.
She told you she was pooping.
I'm just crapping, I believe was the quote she had said to me. It was really early in the morning. I'm a very early riser. I'm up so early.
I wonder if she's single.
Yeah, it's really made me gross out.
It is kind of nasty.
Well, people walk through there to find those shark teeth. They don't want to find a loaf.
No.
I got this email from Ronald. Said, hey, I'm very behind on my podcast listening, but you were talking about the Lagoon in Wesley Chapel. Kevin, you asked for somebody who lives near the area to report to you back if there are a lot of people in the area. Because remember, when the pandemic kicked off, we had the bright idea, because we saw on TikTok all these cool little lagoons that are around the Gainesville area.
Yes.
Wesley Chapel, another place we got the Great Lagoons. I'm like, that looks awesome, because people were trying to find outdoor activities. But then I heard they were packed, like you couldn't get in there. People were on top of each other. I was just wondering if it was still that way. And he said that, there are still a lot of people in the area on top of each other at these lagoons. Not really safe distancing and all that kind of stuff. So
that's not why I go to a lagoon or a springs or any kind of thing like that. You kind of want to have space.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting how the pandemic has reshuffled things. In fact, on TikTok, we went and found, my wife was like, hey, look at this. Where I'm from, Hocking Hills in southeastern Ohio, there's a ton of videos now. They're putting up all these high-end, all these little, those Instagram people or whatever they call them, the social media influencers. Yeah, they're finding all these things, and they're converting some high-end. They had one with an outdoor heated waterfall.
Wow.
That went into like a hot tub. It was high-end. It was, I think it was $1,000 a night.
So like Airbnbs?
They're Airbnbs, and this was kind of like an old, like a Boy Scout camp that they took and refurbished the whole house.
Wow.
So it has like 2 living rooms. You could have, it has like 18 bedrooms that you can get for the night, but it's high end. It's nice.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I
so
think
you could go have like an outdoor adventure and like enjoy being in the woods.
You're in the middle of it, like I said, they have a waterfall.
But
comes
it's glam.
Down. Yeah, and they were saying, around this time of year, because you have a lot of the ice, everything's kind of melted, and so this is a good time of year for waterfalls. And so they've got plenty of them there, so you got a lot of water in the waterfalls. But again, it's interesting because places like, and I used to go out to Hocking Hills all the time when I was a kid. I love it. It's very quiet, and it was almost like our little hidden secret. And now you got these influencers, and it's getting packed out there, and it's getting all high end and trendy, and which is everything that Logan's against. So you got the townspeople who have got the Jaybird mentality. They don't like this high end fancy bullshit.
No, we don't like change.
Well, change is good, but what if it's shitty change?
Well, it's high end.
Sounds
it's
amazing.
Now my family's actually interested in Hocking Hills, and I'm not. So. Kind of changed. So it's kind of fascinating how these but that's what's happening is all these whatever they are, they used to call them yuppies and A's. I don't know what you call them now, but these trendy bitches are now discovering nature, and they're making it all
ruining it.
Yeah, it's not so natural anymore.
Yeah.
They're making it. It's like, well, I'm only going to go if it's trendy, if it's got this, and it's got you got to have a Keurig machine.
Yeah, they wouldn't have lasted an hour out in the Peace River.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Not that at all.
The Peace River sounds anything but peaceful.
I know. A lot of people go, dude, I always go out there. There's nothing ever wrong. You went on a weird night. I think I bring weird.
You do bring
I
weird.
Just bring weird. I'm pretty sure the people next to me, I mean, I'm not pretty sure. I know they were, because I heard them talking about, they were dropping the name cocaine. So there was a bunch of people there. So there was drugs involved on my side of the area. And I think the dude that ran over that tent was fucked up on some stuff.
Turns out you went to Camp Cocaine.
I did. I went to
Cocaine camp?
It was crazy, man.
Well, that's what happens at Camp Cocaine.
And we still never found out. The guy who got that tent run over, that went into the night, never to be seen again. We have no idea where that fucker went.
He never came back to collect his onions.
He had onions on his car that were there for another 12 hours. I remember driving out, looking out the window going, man, that motherfucker's onions are still there. Shit. Is he dead?
Is he dead? Great question.
John.
Cocaine John.
I was just kind of looking in the chat room. Engineer Key said that he went out to the Delray Market this weekend, said it was packed there.
Really?
I tried to go to the opening last week, and it was just packed there then. But I imagine that's how South Florida does. It's going to be really packed probably all through the summer.
Kennel Club definitely was not short of people, that's for sure. There was a shit ton of people out there.
There was, but it's so big that there was still room to move. Like, we went here, we went there. They set up like a VIP out in the front parking lot, and they had Spread the Dub playing out there. They had all these food trucks out there. They set up all these bars out there.
It was fun.
It was really fun.
It's smart, yeah, and I feel a lot better. Yeah, I'm not really hanging out. I get a little weird about going indoors. I'm not too comfortable with that yet. But yeah, when you're outdoors and it's all spread around, and I make sure I stay back from people.
But
you would have liked it.
There was a lot of people there, but they did it in a way where you didn't feel like...
They had a different band in the infield.
Figure it out, yeah.
Then they had different activities going on over here. They put up all these different little roaming bars, like outside on the track.
Yeah.
There was bars.
Yeah. Well, if you look at the numbers, I'd said this, we're almost at 30% in the state of Florida, people that have received both vaccination shots. And the Florida Surgeon General on, I guess, Friday, maybe even into Saturday, said that fully vaccinated Floridians no longer need to wear face masks in public or avoid most social gatherings. So, he's really the first public official I've seen that has said, okay, we're going to give you some incentive now, because, Fauci was like, hey, even if you got the vaccine, still wear your masks, still social distance, still whatever, and still do everything that you were doing before. Julie sent this email, and she said, got this email about what's going on. I'm sorry, this is Andrea. She said, so my mom has recently began to express some questionable views. Love her, and overall, I feel like she's a decent person with good intentions, but sometimes her views are a bit skewed. And she's gone on to believe a lot of crap conspiracy theories about the media and the pandemic. More of these still going on. Her hot button right now is, of course, the vaccine. How it is infecting you with the virus, how it makes you contagious, how it's killing people. So truly believes that the vaccine is gene therapy, even though, as far as I know, that there's no evidence to support that. This is the same person who thinks evolution is not real, as well as a few other things I won't get into. She also thinks that the government is censoring news articles about this whole pandemic, which then I don't know where she thinks she's getting these credible news sources of hers. I'm not personally against the vaccine, and I see a lot of benefits to it. I've been seriously considering getting the COVID vaccine over the last few weeks. Now, I typically do not get the flu vaccine or anything like that, but with the lasting damaging effects that I hear COVID can have, I thought it would be worth looking into getting the vaccine. My brother got his first dose already, and when he told my mom that he's getting his second dose tomorrow, she flipped out. She said that he's destroying his body and his beautiful immune system and putting that crap in there. She even said that he might have to move out of the house, which seemed a little harsh to me, and I don't understand the reasoning. Maybe she's trying to scare him into not doing it. I don't know. It's his body, his choice. Why should him getting the vaccine dictate how she treats him? Should I get involved? I usually don't argue with her messed up views too much unless it really doesn't sit right. I tried to back my brother up a little when the blow-up happened, but they both kind of ignored me, and it made no difference. I want to be able to keep the peace and have my mom come to a point that she respects my brother's choice, but she feels, but she sees him as a twisted person that needs to make peace with his Lord. Do you have any ideas or ways to approach this and help diffuse the situation?
I heard something really interesting the other day. They did like this little mini focus group of all these people that were not interested in getting the vaccine. And they had put together a panel of experts and political people and doctors, and what their goal was in 2 hours on a Zoom call with these, 20 people that were against getting the vaccine, try to convince them to get the vaccine. And it was fascinating to listen to what they brought as far as the arguments of why you should get it. And the one that struck home the most to me, that I was like, yeah, that really makes a lot of sense. 90% of all doctors and nurses that are out there in the medical field with training and education, 90% of doctors and nurses have got the vaccine. So do you think that you know better than 90% of the medical professionals? This is what they do.
Yeah.
This is what they went to school for. Some of them for, 10 plus years. I'm just, freaking DJ. Why would I ever think I know more about medical stuff than a doctor?
Yeah.
I am not a DJ, because if I was a DJ, you would be hearing different music coming out of the radio.
You know what I mean.
I know. I'm so sorry.
It's always fucking around over there.
Yeah, she said, what can I do to help my mom be a little bit more open-minded to facts? And, I got the exact same kind of situation that is going on with my mom. It's a carbon copy of it. And, her hot button is the vaccines and getting vaccinated and all that kind of good stuff. What I do is I just, for the most part, I was ignoring it early because she was coming, especially during the election and all the Trump stuff. And she sent me something the other day. I don't know if you knew this, but the Queen of England's actually dead, and they're holding onto her body for 30 days to reveal it.
Well, wait, who was that at Prince Philip's funeral?
She died right after. Oh. So she's dead now, but they're waiting 30 days for whatever reason. And I said, first of all, Mom, I said, the stories are absolutely asinine.
Why would they even do that? Like, what would be the purpose?
Yeah, and I always, I kind of just ask her. I really was ignoring it, and I said this a couple months ago, and I talked about it. Really it's affected our relationship. It's been tough because that's all she wants to come with. But I just try to say, I just try to throw a little bit of the other side in there. I said, well, just ask a couple questions about it, Mom. Why would they do that?
What's the purpose?
Yeah, and I'm like saying I'm not endorsing any news cycle, service, stat, whatever. I'm just saying just walk through the logic trail with me. Hold my hand and let's walk through this logically. Just say, why are they doing that? So I'll just have open conversations with her. And, that's tough. I hate when people are that way and they really want to force their beliefs on somebody, because I think this is something where hopefully if somebody is informed and they're making their own decision, good for you. You're doing what's right for you, and I'm not going to tell you what's right for you. You decide on your own. So it's tough, though, when you got a family that's fighting about it and a brother that might get kicked to the curb because he, doesn't want to get the vaccine or will want to get it. It's just crazy. So, well, we got a great email from Ashley talking about why do we want to interview you? And we talked about this on Friday. Just to give you a real quick recap here. She said, my grandpa, who's passed now, drove Lee Harvey Oswald to Dallas from Grand Prairie the morning of the shooting at JFK. My dad always has told me not to say anything, but I feel like enough time has passed. My grandpa is no longer alive, so I can just say it now. Lee and my grandpa Tommy used to work in Dallas together, so they would take turns driving each other to the job sites that they were stationed at in Dallas. My dad used to call Lee Harvey Oswald Uncle Lee, so these guys were tight.
Wow.
And like I said, I think I saw one of the things on it, because I've been fascinated with the whole JFK assassination since I was in high school. And I think I remember one of the specials I saw, they talked about the guy that had driven him there that day. She did send a couple other emails, and we might get to some of the more prying questions if I go through this here quickly. She said, there is a lot of speculation within my family that my grandpa could have been the second shooter. I feel bad even saying that. To be honest, I'm a little nervous to talk about it publicly because, we've always kind of had this as a big family secret. So, I just know that my grandpa was with him that day, drove him to Dallas, and investigators suspected a second shooter. Also, my grandpa got home late from work that night, and my grandma was freaking out because she saw it on the news, what was going on in Dallas. So she's afraid that my grandpa Tommy had something to do with it.
Oh, boy.
Hopefully it's not going to get me investigated. It's a long time, though. Yeah,
well, JMZ is going to open up this case. Sorry, Ashley, but I'm into it.
She said my grandpa also despised the Kennedys for whatever reason. He was a country guy who also was a great shot. And he said, that, Lee brought a gun with him that day, not a small gun, and he had to put it in my grandpa's trunk. How about that?
I've heard
That's
enough.
Big.
I think Grandpa had something to do with it. But wouldn't they investigate to the point where...
I think they have. I think that there's been thorough investigation on this from the specials that I've seen. And one last thing, Lee was arrested the same day of the shooting because he killed a police officer. So why wouldn't my grandpa question why Lee wasn't ready to be picked up to drive him back to Grand Prairie? There's just a lot that doesn't add up.
Maybe your grandfather did have something.
If you're in charge of picking somebody up from work at a different work site, you wouldn't just drive home as if everything is fine. You'd stick around and wait for the person because that person doesn't have a car. He couldn't call him back then because there weren't cell phones, so maybe he drove home because he wasn't willing to wait for him. My grandpa said that my grandma got home and just went to bed, or my grandma said my grandpa got home, just went to bed without saying anything to her, even though she was freaking out and asking where he was.
Dang.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. So, I mean, just a fascinating story here, Ashley. And wow, I mean, you want to talk about quite a secret.
So basically, you pretty much read every single thing that I sent to you. So there's really not a whole lot more for me to say, but just ask me some questions and I'll answer them.
Yeah. I guess my question, how long had your grandfather been friends with Lee Harvey Oswald? It sounds like they were close if he had, even like nice, kindly pet names for him.
Yeah, so they had probably been friends for about 20 years. And at the time, my dad, he was born in about 1957, I think. So in 1963, my dad was like 6 or 7 years old. So he had already known him for a while. So that's kind of how, and at the time, Grand Prairie was a really small little town. It wasn't like it is now. There was no highways going through it or anything like that. Everybody knew everybody. So, they were just, they were close, and it took a long time to get to Dallas, so they would just ride share.
That was one of my questions. How long of a ride do you think it would have been? Any idea back then? I'm sure it's different now with, highways, congestion, all that stuff. How long of a drive are we talking?
So back then, it probably would have been about like an hour and a half.
Wow, okay. And this was a drive that they made frequently, correct?
Yeah, and they both were construction workers. They worked in different construction in Dallas. So, I mean, I don't know if they were stationed at the same places or if they were stationed at two different places, but they would just ride out there together to save gas, basically. So,
well, and how much your grandfather would have known, I think is a great question, because think about a 90-minute commute one way, and it's known that you both are not fans of the Kennedys, obviously of JFK. Right. And think about any long car ride you've ever been on with somebody, and you actually find a way to connect in the conversations that you have. So the day that Lee Harvey Oswald is planning to shoot JFK, your grandfather is driving him there, and in 90 minutes, knowing your connection to one another, not anything would come up about that?
Exactly. And not only that, but he had a long barrel shotgun that he had loaded into my grandpa's truck, too. So
I assume that obviously was the gun that he used to kill JFK.
Wow.
Right, yes.
Well, did authorities ever sit down and question your grandpa? Was there ever any kind of investigation?
No, there was never an investigation on my grandpa. Like, to this day, they don't even know who drove him to Dallas that day. So within my family, this is a huge secret that I'm even nervous about talking about on air right now. But to this day, they don't know who drove him there, and I know that it was my grandpa, because ever since I was a kid, my family has been telling me all this information, and I'm like, why are you telling me this? I don't want to know this.
Right. Don't tell me nothing.
Well, this is a huge break in the case here. Honestly, if we know that there was another driver.
But he's dead. I mean, dead guys can't tell you what went down.
But it's still, you could look into it.
Now it's all just hearsay.
You could look into it more.
Yeah, but, at the time, it was, how families are in Texas. I mean, we keep family secrets. It's just how we are. So, I mean, you're from Logan.
Right,
so,
we're the same way. Yeah, people, you keep family secrets. Oddly enough, people don't talk about stuff. It's amazing what, in those areas, and I, from the sensibilities I get from knowing Texans and being there, they're very much the same. They just don't talk about feelings. You don't talk about this. It's amazing, honestly, how much stuff country folk keep bottled up and don't ever talk about.
And then they just take it out on their kids.
Probably, yeah. I think they drink a lot, or they just stare off into space. That's just what us country folk do.
Hey, Ashley, I have a question, and you may not know this answer, but on a road trip like that, my mind automatically goes to, what kind of snacks were they eating? Do you have any idea what they were eating on the way there?
Little Debbie's.
You fucking with me?
No, Little Debbie snake cakes, probably.
Okay.
Snake cake snacks.
Not snake treats. Cake treats. Got it.
Okay.
Sorry. No. Right now.
That's awesome.
No. But yeah, and that's not the only layer to this either. I mean, so I already told Kevin about how we think my grandpa was involved a little bit, but I'm not going to go into that because that's my grandpa, and I'm not going to throw him under the bus. But they were also friends with Clyde from Bonnie and Clyde, because they also lived in Grand Prairie.
Oh, wow.
And so my dad remembers, and so no one will ever believe me about this, because I know it sounds so far-fetched. Like, all of this sounds so far-fetched coming from one family, but, back then, in that area, Texas was a really small, like, it was very rural. There weren't a lot of stuff going on. So, like, you know, so yeah, they were friends with Clyde from Bonnie and Clyde. So apparently my grandparents were just like fucking outlaws or something. I don't know.
Wow. Hey, so I do have a couple more questions on the ride. You said that in the one email that my grandma was wondering because my grandpa got home that night and just went to bed after everything that happened. And did he get home later? Was there any kind of difference in the timing of when he got home? Do you know?
Yeah. So what she told me is that he got home like 3 hours later than he should have, and she had already seen the news because she saw it was shaking down in Dallas, and she was freaking out. She knew that he was working down there, and so at the time in that day, she didn't know really what was going on. She just knew that there was somebody shot the president. There was an active shooter, so she was kind of freaking out. So then, you know, he comes home and she's questioning him, you know, where were you? I was so afraid. Back then we didn't have cell phones. So, you know, she was just freaking out. Okay. And so he gets home and he just walks right past her and she's asking him, where were you? Where were you? And then he just goes and he lays down and he goes to bed and he really didn't say anything to her about it until I think that he did say stuff to her about it, but she didn't come right out and like say it to everybody. She would.
Did he ever say where he dropped him off on that day? Because if you say they work together, you would think that they're going to the same work site. But did he drop Lee Harvey Oswald off at another location, or did Lee Harvey Oswald walk from where?
He dropped off at some grassy knoll area.
Well,
I don't know. It's never been clarified where he dropped him off at, but I know that he dropped him off for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen the latest thing I'd seen, and it's gone back and forth, but according to ballistics and everything else, believe it or not, I know they talked about the magic bullet, but I think a lot of the experts do believe that it came from the one single shot, whoever was in the book depository making the shot. So I think they've kind of ruled out, or at least they've told you that there wasn't a second shooter. It was only the one. But yeah, just how much maybe your grandfather might have had to play in this. Did he ever have any connections with anybody that might be Mafia based or related? Because they're kind of in the epicenter of this, that maybe JFK had kind of pissed off the Mafia and that maybe it was kind of a Mafia hit that had gone on.
I don't think so. I don't think that my grandpa had any of those kind of connections. I think that...
Well, if they knew Bonnie and Clyde, I just didn't know.
Well, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I was 3 when my grandpa died, so I don't know like a whole lot about his background and that kind of stuff, but I do know that he was a country boy. He didn't like the Kennedys, neither did Lee, and they rode to Dallas together. So,
yeah.
I mean,
how old was he when he passed away, and what did he die from?
He died of a brain aneurysm.
Oh,
and
wow.
I don't know exactly how old he was, but it was in 1990, so I'm assuming he was probably in like his 50s when he died.
Yeah.
In your heart, do you think your grandpa had anything to do with that, or had knowledge of what was going down? In your heart?
Yeah, I do. I think that so if there wasn't a second shooter, then it probably wasn't him, but I do think that he knew exactly what was going to happen, and I think that he drove there with the intention to allow Lee to do what he wanted to do. And unfortunately, I hate to say that because that's my grandpa. You know, that's my dad's dad. I'm like in the family, you know. I don't like to say it out loud, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, if he was the one driving him, how would he not know? Especially if he was, you know, if he let him bring his shotgun with him to Dallas.
I wonder that too.
You can't sneak a shotgun in a car. It's a little tricky.
Yeah, and just to let you know, your husband Jeff is in the chat room and he says, "Oh man, Ashley, we are getting ourselves into some shit going public with this. Ha ha, Secret Service is on their way." I mean,
oh no. Poor Jeff. I hate to rope him into all this.
But here's the thing. You and Jeff didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have anything to worry. I mean, you weren't involved in any way. And the people that could tell you what happened are dead.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why I feel like I can say something about it now because, you know, I mean, come investigate me. I haven't killed anybody.
Yeah.
What about Grandma? When did Grandma pass?
My grandma passed about 10 years ago.
Okay.
So She's gone. Yeah.
So anybody
You're not
that
gonna hear her.
knew information's probably dead.
Grandma knew, though.
Grandma knew.
There's no way Grandma did not know. If Grandpa had something to do with it, Grandma knew.
Yeah,
Grandma knew.
I've never seen any, like, another person necessarily really linked in there. I think that they've kind of dismissed a lot of that. But yeah, what your grandfather knew, did he know that day that Lee Harvey Oswald was going to try to shoot the president? Did he think he had the ability to shoot the president? And then him showing up 3 hours late home, was he waiting for Lee Harvey Oswald? Did he find out, like, by a newscast saying, oh, crap, he shot somebody? And then what is that 90-minute drive from Dallas back to your home like, where you're like, oh, my gosh? Because they didn't, I don't think, investigate like today. Now, if it was today, they would have been waiting for your grandfather by the time he would have got there. And you probably would have seen like an OJ chase on the highway.
There would have
back
been
to Grand Prairie.
cameras on every angle that we would
Right.
have seen him jumping on the road.
In minutes. Fascinating stuff. Well, thank you very much for telling your story, Ashley. Very brave and very fascinating stuff. If only we could have Grandpa to interview today and find out what he knew.
I know, right?
Yeah, good
All
stuff.
right, thank you guys. Y'all have a good day.
You
You
too.
too.
Thank you.
Juicy stuff.
How about that?
Well, that was a good one.
Absolutely. That's definitely worth the conversation. So
We might get investigated now.
I hope we're not going to have to be deposed.
I kind of, I want to be. I want to get into all of this. I'm going to dig even deeper now.
You want to be involved.
I'm going to get us killed.
all right, so if you got something like that, why do we want to interview you? Send us that email, mail@kvjshow.com. Love to get you on here to talk about it. All right, you guys enjoy your Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye.
Cleveland Clinic, Florida provides individualized treatment plans for excellent outcomes of health problems ranging from the most common to the most complex, even in cases considered untreatable by others. Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Every life deserves world-class care.